So, Hammer, now that you're back from now that you're with us after a quick little trip to Washington D.C., James Harden traded to the Brooklyn Nets. Uh, Now joined up Katie, Kyrie, hypothetically Kyrie. Does any team in the league, any team in the East actually, any team in the East, can they compete with them if all goes well?
Yeah, I mean, funny story is I was trying to break into the laptop. Once I did, went on Twitter real quick, and that's when I found out about the trade and was just absolutely hyped. But going back to the argument or just the debate, as of right now, I think the only roster that can really compete with them, if the Nets with Kyrie, if it actually does work and if it doesn't implode. So that's a big if right there. So if it ends up working out, the one team that I think that can actually have a chance is the Bucks. And it's obviously just because Giannis is just an absolute freak and the Nets play zero defense. However, in a 7-game series, I'm not entirely convinced that would actually, I don't think, I'm not entirely convinced they could outlast a team with 3 superstars on that roster.
So, is it the fact that Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday aren't top 10 superstars because they're not, or is it another factor in that makes you say that?
Well, like Giannis, he's obviously going to get his. You look at his playoff stats, his numbers really don't drop off that much. He's still a walking bucket, even in the playoffs. And the Nets obviously do not have anyone that can guard him. So he's going to get his 28 to 35 points regardless, no matter what. Going to grab a couple offensive boards. And then you're literally relying on the rest of that roster to have career games every night. Like, can Middleton put up 25 points every single night? Can Drew add 20? Can you have contributions from guys like Connaughton? Can they consistently put in double-figure games in the playoffs when everything changes? That's what I'm not convinced about. Maybe a couple games in a series, but not if it goes 7. I'm not sure if they can do it 7 games in a row.
Isis, you look like you got something on your mind. Speak to the
Well,
people.
it's just like if they're going to play career games, they don't have to do it 7 times in a row. It's not a 7.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to win 7 games.
But can they do it in a continuous stretch? That's what I'm not convinced about.
I don't think that you have to have them play out of their minds. I think they just have to play their brand of basketball, and they can beat the Nets. It's not like if they can hold. The question should be not if they can score them, like the amount of points needed. It's can they stop the Nets from scoring? Because if they can do that, then they have a real shot at beating them in a 7-game series. No question about it. Like you've said it on this podcast before, Drew Holiday is a great defensive player, and you might have slobbed on his knob a little bit too much, where I would have thought that he is a top 10 player, but
he's a great defender.
So he's a great defender. He could stop Kyrie, and you really have to hope that Harden doesn't kill you. So if Harden doesn't kill you, and you know how he plays in the playoffs, right? He's not the greatest in the playoffs. They have a real shot at beating them, no question about it. Like this whole Giannis sucks in the playoffs, or like Giannis can't win in the playoffs is gonna. You potentially have to. It's going to stop at some point, and he's going to show us wrong. Like he's not an MVP. He's not a 2-time MVP for no reason.
Well, the only thing is, like you have Kyrie Irving, and like theoretically, you just put a dog on him, and you would think he's going to stop him. But Kyrie's still a superstar. He's still one of the best offensive threats in the entire league. And yeah, like he was stopped in the playoffs as a top guy. But as a guy that is arguably the third option, I don't know if you can just completely take him out of a game when he's not the primary focus.
Yeah, but the way Kyrie works is that he keeps breaking down his defender like throughout the shot clock and throughout the game in order for him to score, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
Like that's like
yeah.
that's just his dribble moves, right? He's just breaking down defenders until he can score. If he's not getting the ball consistently, or if he's the third option, do you really think he can do that? Like, let's say like he gets the ball with 10 seconds left. Do you really believe he's going to create his own shot consistently?
I mean, honestly, you could pretty much, if that's the case, you could just give it to Harden, who's probably going to have Middleton on him. Maybe Middleton's guarding KD because Giannis refuses to guard superstars. So, I mean, like, okay, you take out Kyrie. You still have two other guys that can create their own shot at will, that can draw fouls at will. It's too much star power, especially in the playoffs when that actually matters.
So I think if you have teams play harder defense in the playoffs, right?
Mhm.
So I think if you're gonna have a harder time to score in this inflated numbers that they have right now, or whenever Kyrie comes back, if those numbers are going to be inflated, I think they're going to come down back to earth, and they're going to see like maybe we can't outscore them, like maybe we had because yes, they can like outscore most people, but like they're also going to get scored on quite a bit. Like there's no defense there. So like it's like you're killing yourself both ways, like you're gonna get clamped down a little bit more in the playoffs than you would in the regular season, and then you're still going to be giving up points because there is no defense on that team.
I mean, I agree that defense is, like, really starts to clamp down, and you can make the case for both teams. You can't just make it for one and not the other. But when you just think about it, it's like, okay, like, yeah, Drew's going to guard Kyrie and probably Harden because they're not going to be on the floor at all times together. You're going to have times where Kyrie can really break it down. He's going to be with KD probably most of the time, and then you're going to have James by himself at times. So you're going to have all these different types of lineups where the Nets, and the reason why I think they made the trade is so they can decide the tempo. It's their game to lose. They're the ones that are deciding the tempo, throwing other teams out. It's either you match with their tempo or you're just going to get completely slaughtered. And honestly, the team defense, it's probably going to improve. It has to. It's so bad right now, it has to improve. There's just
you need a big man though in the worst way.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think they'll get one. Whether he's good or not, maybe it's Claxton. Who knows? Claxton has proven that he can run the floor as a center. Like he's an athletic specimen.
But is he good enough to stop the Bucks? Like,
that's what we don't know. But the thing is, like, my argument is just that I don't know. Like, I personally think the offensive firepower cannot be stopped just because you have three superstars that are going to be on the floor pretty much at all times, at least one or two of them. Can the Bucks really keep up with that? You can't just expect them to lock down Kyrie, KD, who's unstoppable, and James Harden. Drew can only do so much.
But if you're, because we're talking about the Bucks, and because Giannis can like keep the paint, like he's gonna guard the paint at an elite level because he always does. You're gonna have to rely more on jump shots. You know what I'm saying? Like, is Harden to be able to get all those fouls that he needs to get his numbers up? Is he going to be able to make those jump shots?
And his runner is filthy.
Yeah.
Okay, but his runner is filthy. But like you'll still have Giannis down there, who is who's the best, one of the best defensive players in the league.
Then you'll have Jeff Green shooting wide open threes.
So now we're relying on Jeff Green.
I mean, he has to still guard his guy.
Okay, but I'm just saying,
he's not going to leave a guy wide open. That's why they have those fours that can stretch the floor. Okay, and then you have Joe Harris, who's also he's also running all over the field. You have to pay attention to that.
Okay, but still, you're still going to have to rely more on jump shots. And if like we saw with the Rockets and the Warriors, they missed like 30 3-pointers and they lost, right? So if you're gonna have to rely on 3-point shots, you're gonna have to make sure that they go in. And me personally, like I would rather have my team hit easy shots in the playoffs than have to force threes or jump shots all the time. Because that's what you're going to have to do. You're not going to have KD running down, dunking on people when you have Giannis there.
I mean, KD's going to get a couple easy looks simply because of his threat at the mid-range and three-pointer. KD,
But easy looks don't now automatically go in.
What was that?
Easy looks don't automatically go in. Just because he has an easy look doesn't mean it's going to be 100%.
You don't just stop KD. Like, the only person that can really stop KD is himself. You're not forcing him to miss. He's missing.
And that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying. You're gonna have to you're gonna have to have him rely more.
You're banking on three of the most skilled scorers in the entire league who are gonna have less defensive attention just because there's three of them now. So all of a sudden just completely choke.
I think that's totally wrong. I think you're gonna have more defensive presence on them. I think people are going to focus on them more. Like, why would
you just can? You only have so many great defenders that can guard three players at once. That's ridiculous.
But you got two of them on the team. You got three on the Bucks. Giannis, Chris Middleton, and your boy.
So, like Drew, I love Drew. I think he's a great defender. Are you talking defensive wise? Or are you talking just stars?
Like you're telling me. Defensively,
defensively, Giannis is a great defender, right? But he refuses to guard superstars.
Yeah, but Drew and Chris Middleton will obviously guard two of the three.
Yeah, Middleton will probably be tasked with KD, and we saw how that worked. KD put him in a spin cycle, just completely embarrassed him the other night. That's a messy matchup right there. And I don't know if he can do much better against a guy like James Harden. Do you want to get him in foul trouble? Like, yeah, you can say the argument, oh, the calls don't happen in the playoffs for James Harden, but he's never had a team like this where it's like literally you stop paying attention and all of a sudden they're just rim rattling. So I mean, I just feel like it's too explosive to stop. Like on paper, you can be like, oh yeah, like they got three guys that can line up, but realistically, against three superstars.
Okay, on paper, the three super like you're using the same argument against yourself. Like it doesn't make any sense.
On paper, I mean,
so on paper,
the three of the most gifted scorers in the entire league.
Okay,
especially since
means
Giannis, who your best defender is, refuses to guard any of them.
You don't know that he might do that in the play. You can't say that he's the defensive player of the year 2 times in a row for a reason. You can't just say that. You're telling me that for trips to the finals that he's not going to guard KD. You're telling me that
he's notorious for not guarding the team superstar. So he has to prove it to us that he can do that. Maybe that's his prove it game. Who knows? But I'm not sure if I like him against KD with KD's skill at drawing fouls.
I guess
because you can't afford for him not to be in the game.
I mean, we'll see. To say that like there's no one that can stop them or like the Bucks can't stop them is kind of ridiculous.
I'm saying if the Nets if it starts flowing.
Okay,
I'm not convinced. I'm not completely convinced that it's going to flow, but if it actually works, I'm not sure if there's a team in that East that can stop them.
Okay, and if the Bucks come together and they start playing great defense, they're going to beat them. Like, we can use that argument.
I mean, yeah, if the Bucks can limit them to 80 points, that's fine. If that's what you're thinking. If that's even possible.
then I guess the Nets are just going to score 150 points a game.
If they scored under 100 points, like the entire sky is going to fall. Because it just doesn't seem possible at this point.
We'll see. Like, you're literally saying if everything is perfect in a perfect world, they can score at will. They can shoot 100% from the field. Of course, they're going to win. But in another perfect world where you have Giannis, who's going to guard KD, and you have Chris Middleton, who's going to guard James Harden, and you have Drew Holiday, who's going to guard Kyrie, they could hold them to a bad offensive game 4 times in a 7-game series.
I don't know if anyone's stopping MVP Kevin Durant.
Okay, I guess people, I guess.
Especially a guy that
the
does not
two-time
guard superstars.
Okay, we'll see. Everything perfect for the Bucks, and then I guess everything perfect for the Nets. That's the argument. So if everything's perfect for the Nets, then they're automatically their winners.
Yeah,
That's your argument.
If the team flows, yeah, I don't think there's anything that can stop them. That's my argument.
But the Bucks can. The Bucks can literally stop them. They have the pieces to stop them. They're the really only team that is built to stop them at this point.
I mean, like, I guess they can have a better defensive effort, but again, like compared to the other teams in the East, but that doesn't mean they're not going to score 130 points.
They're the only team that can beat them right now. That's it.
That's the only team in the East that has a chance. Like, I'll give you that. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I just don't.
Well, no, you basically are saying it's impossible.
I don't see it happening.
Okay, well, I guess we'll see.